Don't mean to interrupt your Thanksgiving talk.
Oh, it started literally 2 seconds before you jumped on.
Yeah,
I just had my final piece of pumpkin pie, and now I'm just here sitting sipping on my bone broth like a little Master Yoda.
Well, so I guess that brings us to episode 4 of What If He Doesn't Survive, aka the Mandalorian recap show.
I think the he is now Baby Yoda, right?
I don't know. He's like, they finally got something cute, right, with Star Wars, which is pretty cool. Like outside of
What do you mean something? What do you mean something cute? What about the Ewoks?
Oh yeah, everybody loves the Ewoks.
Heck, Salacious Crumb is cute.
Especially when he's roasting on a spit
over the fire pit. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure you just said something offensive there, Mike. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Salacious Crumb's racist. What did I say?
He's speaking the Crowley tongue.
You just say it like shit against Irish people. Because I'm
wow.
Potatoes.
Well, okay. So welcome to the show. All right. So
I call sanctuary.
Nice. So let me just say, we'll test the temperature of this episode because I feel like this was the honeymoon is over episode for me. We talked a bit last time about how the first 3 episodes were a nice little self-contained kind of arc, and the show very well could have ended then.
Mm-hmm.
Picking back up, I don't know if this is because there seemed to be a lot more CG with the ATST walker, or if it's the very A-team kind of episodic nature of this particular episode, but it just felt like Star Wars television in the way that the first 3 episodes didn't.
Yeah. This one didn't connect to anything other than we know the Mandalorian has to find somewhere to go that's private, but then that's about it. And
by private, you mean a balcony overlooking a courtyard.
Yeah. It felt like every writing...
Or a cave.
Like, they could have just called this episode Dancing with Mandalorians. Like, it was just the same, like, Avatar plot, like you see it everything. And I don't know.
Avatar plot.
Yeah, it's just, you have the Mandalorian has to come in and save the indigenous people. And then there's, like, a big threat that's going to threaten it, that's going to stop them. And I don't know why he didn't use his ship to just shoot down the ATST, but whatever. You have to have episode happen. So,
well, I know why, and we'll talk about that, I guess.
Let's talk about it now. There's no time like the present.
Well, I mean, the main reason he didn't use his ship to, take out the ATST, it would draw too much attention, and he didn't know if there were other ATSTs out there, and these people were clearly not wanting to move anywhere. The villagers, the farming villagers, the krill-loving villagers, they didn't want to move anywhere, and they were ready to stay planted. The best thing for the Mandalorian would do is to teach them how to fight, Seven Samurai style. So it's all part of the plot. There was no reason for him to go all the way back to his ship, get in the air, and start shooting at this thing when who knows what would happen, what attention it would draw to. It's just... that's the whole drama of the thing. If you don't want a 40-minute episode, then he could have gotten in his ship, hopped the thing into midair, and blown away the ATST. End of episode. Now on to chapter 5.
Well, look, I understand where you're coming from, David. Yeah. Here's something. I think they did this on the old Clone Wars back when they were like the Tartakovsky shorts. Have a 5-minute episode. That'd be great. Just like that week 4's installment is he gets in, he blows up the thing, and then he leaves. No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. And maybe this will play out and become more important as the series goes on. But this just felt very much like I was reminded a lot watching it, Mike's critique of episode 2. This felt very much like a filler episode. Like, we've got this 8-episode arc. They can't all be, plot advancing, tight stories. We're just going to kind of hang out, and he's going to help some people and then be on the way. I hope it has some significance later, aside from the fact that we meet Gina Carano's character, who I thought was really cool. But yeah, it felt, once I got that A-Team thing into my head, I'm like, that really is all there is here. And aside from more cute Baby Yoda, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with this. It was a fine episode. It was okay. I didn't hate it. I think it's because I still have that Mandalorian love for the show that I'm still just happy to get new Star Wars every week, that I was interested in watching it. It just felt like of a smaller scale, and almost like, all right, we've only got 8 episodes until it's going to be another year before we see more of this stuff. I really want everything to hit like on all fronts.
Yeah,
I think we're overlooking what this episode presented to us. We have a new planet that we've never visited before called Sargon. They're primarily uninhabited. They don't have a whole lot of tech. It's obviously a good place for, like you said, for the Mandalorian and his sidekick to lay low. Okay. I found it interesting that the episode, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, opens up underwater, and we're hanging out with what these villagers are harvesting, the krill, basically like shrimp, and we get this kind of like idyllic, peaceful setting. Now, many of us, and probably including myself, probably thought that this episode would open in the cockpit with, Mandalorian and Baby Yoda trying to figure out where they're going to go to next, because that's where we left them. But I thought it was very, very interesting to give us a new planet, a new set of people, aliens, whatever you want to call them, and then eventually, once after the kind of, it's like the villagers were being harvested by themselves by this new, well, not new, but this group of raiders that looked like orcs, Klatooinians. And we've seen these characters before. They're primarily henchmen. We've seen them on Jabba's barge. But they're Klatooinians, and they were raiding, basically harvesting their village. They wanted to take what the villagers have harvested. And that's not something new to us, but it's new to the Star Wars universe, okay? So that's interesting. The concept of this storyline playing out like this, right away it seems familiar. We've seen it in other movies, blah, blah, blah. But it's new to Star Wars, and that's kind of interesting. And then, we see later on, once the Mandalorian is there and he's kicking it in the bar there, or the I guess the little restaurant tavern area, we learn a little bit more about that planet. We don't get too many visits. Not many people come here for work. It's just pretty much indigenous people. Some people are just passing by. This is kind of like a Passover planet, if you will. So that in and of itself is kind of interesting. And later on, once the Mandalorian befriends the mother villager that we saw in the opening, let me see, played Omera, played by Julia Jones. She basically kind of, has an attachment to him, is drawn to him, and we learn more about his path as he opens up to her. She's asking him if he ever takes off his helmet. And if anybody has watched the Clone Wars and even Star Wars Rebels, Mandalorians definitely do take off their helmet. In fact, we can go all the way back to Attack of the Clones, when pretty much Jango Fett was always without his helmet. So there is something special about this post Return of the Jedi, post Endor, Fallen Empire, this sect of Mandalorians that they never take off their helmets. We established that in the last episode 2. This is the way. So something happened, and he even shared with her that, I haven't taken off my helmet since I was rescued, since I was a boy, and the Mandalorians took me in. So he's not Mandalorian, but the Mandalorians took him in. So I disagree. I think this episode brought out a lot about these characters.
And that's the thing. There's probably 3 minutes of new information wrapped up in this 40-minute episode. I just feel like structurally and plot-wise, I've seen this on like this particular episode on every science fiction space show. Everybody has an episode like this. You can go back to Star Trek, all of the Star Treks, the Orville, all of this stuff. Just, it felt like a generic space plot episode, or as Mike put it, an Avatar episode, cloaked and dressed up in Star Wars. And that's fine, but for the little bit of information that we get, I feel like there could have been a story that felt fresher, like any of the stories from the first 3 episodes, where you could deliver that sort of information. Because I agree, it's kind of fun. There's that line like, "When was the last time you took off your helmet?" And he's like, "Yesterday," and that was kind of cute. But then there's also this weird moment where it's like, yeah, okay, he's going to take off his helmet, but he's literally sitting on a balcony overlooking this courtyard where there's like a bunch of people playing with Baby Yoda. Someone could look up and like, oh, there's the Mandalorian 10 feet away with his mask off. It's sort of, I'm not going to call it sloppy. I don't know if he cared or didn't care. Like maybe if kids see me, it doesn't count or something. I don't know I don't know what the way is. Even though the Mandalorian.
Come on, Ian. Now you know that everybody's going to be distracted by Baby Yoda and not pay attention to Mandalorian.
That's true. And that's maybe that was what carried me through most of the episode. Is I was distracted by Baby Yoda. He's up to his old cuteness. This show is going to go down the toilet if and when they ever get rid of Baby Yoda. And in fact, like at the end, it almost felt like a studio note where the Mandalorian's like, yeah, I'm just going to leave him here. And then like, no. He has to be in the rest of the series.
Yeah, right. They course corrected it mid-season.
I was here.
Yeah, when he was in the crosshair, little Baby Yoda, I was like, what are they going to do?
That would have been great, but terrible at the same time. Just because, like, it would have been great to just see people lose their shit online. And also, like, to go that far, like, hey, we shot a baby in the head, Disney, but plot-wise, maybe not the best thing to do.
Well, Disney's killing off parents 5 minutes within the opening of every movie, so it's about time the kids had a turn.
So,
yeah. So, Mike, we've been talking a lot. Open up. Tell us what your thoughts on the Sanctuary are.
I think
open up to us like the Mandalorian did.
I think it's okay. I didn't mind that it kind of had this generic-ish episode so much because I think they already knew, okay, we established this whole plot in these 3 episodes initially, so we can kind of have a filler episode. I guess the one issue I had with a filler episode was that the writing was very familiar. Like, all the dialogue is every line I've heard from everything. Even the setting, like, yes, it's a new planet, but it's kind of like the same planet we've seen before. It's just another version of Endor. It's just another forest place. This time just with, like, little puddles and stuff. But again, with Star Wars, unless you want to make a fully CG planet, there's not a lot you can do, maybe. But from what I've seen, a lot of planets just kind of look recycled in Star Wars now. And this looks kind of like another recycled planet. I did like that we got a little more information on the Mandalorian. I did like how he did talk about how he was taken as a child, and he never showed his face since he was a kid. I love the little moment towards the mother / the main person in that village and him when she actually kind of put her hands on the helmet. She's about to lift it off, and she said to him, "Wouldn't you like to just be a kid again for a little bit?" And we actually kind of hear him choke up a bit and say, "I would." So, like, we really get that he's horribly depressed and hurt inside, which I thought was just a great little sort of nugget of information about him that we see. I don't think this show's ever going to give us all the information about him until maybe the end of season 1 or whatever. But I mean, it did feel a little stretched out. I think this could have been a 30-minute episode instead of a 40-minute episode. We all love Baby Yoda. He's very cute. We want to see what happens to him. But I would like to see them develop the plot a little more, and I think they will after this episode. I think they gave this to Bryce Dallas Howard because they said, okay, you could direct this episode, then we're going to give it to a lot of the, leads who are sort of taking the series in the more direct direction. I think after this episode, they'll probably get back on track with, what's going to happen with Mandalorian, what's going to happen with the child that he's carrying. So I can excuse it. So I'd say it's an okay episode. It's like a 3 out of 5 for me, But yeah, it was nothing to write home about. But they're not all going to be winners. So
yeah.
I
mean, we're at the halfway point here now. So actually, I want to ask Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune. Have we seen her before in any of the Star Wars mythos, or is she new to this show, or new as
Brand
of
new.
this show?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm aware of. No.
Okay, because I thought
She's an
she had a really. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Are you there? Yeah. Did you cut out, David? Oh no.
You guys are a little choppy there.
Oh, okay.
Well, she's an ex-rebel. And as she described in this episode, this chapter here, she was cleaning up after Endor and kind of working for ex-Imperial warlords, which I'm inclined to believe that that's kind of maybe what the client is, played by Werner Herzog. These kind of former Imperial opportunists or warlords. Maybe that's what even Giancarlo Esposito's character will be later on. I don't know, but yeah, it seems to be like you have Imperial tech hanging around after the Empire has been dismantled. That's why these seemingly medieval creatures, these orc-like creatures, happen to have an ATST. It's like it was never. It's like, how did they get that? So it seems like some of this Imperial tech is kind of laying around here and there, and maybe it's being sold for the highest bidder, or I don't know. So it seems like she's got a history with the Rebel Alliance. She was as she mentioned, a shock trooper. So I would imagine that those are the kinds of troopers that we last saw on Endor.
Yeah.
Speaking of our ATST, was the red lights, the eyes, I guess, in the cockpit, is that new, or I don't remember seeing that before.
Yeah,
that's new.
Before, I was wondering if it was being AI controlled or not, or if someone was piloting it, because I couldn't help but think when I was thinking of watching this episode, like, man, the Ewoks took down these things way more easily than it took these guys to do it. But anyways, that's another plot hole that whatever, it's Star Wars.
Well, I was just wondering if it was because I don't think we've seen these things maneuver at night before. I was wondering if it was that's their night headlights or something. Just this Sith red. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I've seen the headlights before, and they showed the kind of the flashlights, the beams, as the ATST neared the water. But we saw a little bit of that in kind of like a medium shot when Vader's shuttle landed on Endor. When we see the platform and you see the ATST walking around and stuff, it had headlights basically. In this one with the red lights, that it seems to be something that's customized, recently. So that is kind of new. And I thought it was really cool night effect because it seemed like very ominous to come out of the night fog from the woods, out from the shadows. You just see these red lights, and then you see like these kind of like below that these white lights for viewing. It seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Now Gina Carano's character, I think she's going to come back because they've shown her a lot in the posters and such for the show. So,
yeah, there's other footage too of her. So
yeah. So obviously, I don't think for everyone who was complaining that the Mandalorian didn't feature enough women and stuff like that. Well, I think that she's going to play some sort of bigger role in the next episode. Maybe this one was just setting her arc up a little bit. So maybe
Yeah.
she could be spying on him, or she could be on his side. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's the other thing about this show that, I don't know if this is a criticism or just, a fanboy's wish, but the Mandalorian keeps coming across all these interesting side characters that I just wish would hop aboard that ship and hang out with them more. It's like in any other series he would be slowly gathering his crew, but in this one he literally just meets people at these different ports of adventure, and then they're like, "Yep, well, catch you later," or "I'm going to go off to the next fight, and I've got to stay here and hold down the fort."
Well, I think it's because
I kind of like that,
being on his own, and they're
Yeah.
meant to be sort of these solo, no pun intended, fighters, and they're meant to be alone. Like if all of a sudden they assemble, an A team, for lack of better terms, I think the show could kind of be a little overstuffed.
Sure.
And so like right now they don't want to form the Avengers, but I think each character, they play a vital role in his journey and our journey and learning more about him. Because if we remember anything about him, in the very first episode, he just seemed like a straight up bad guy until he ran into the baby. And then as the show has progressed more and more and more, we realize, oh, this guy isn't just like Boba Fett, where he just wants to go around and look cool and collect his bounty, but there's a real human element to him, and it's interesting how they keep developing that. But yeah, I mean, this episode, would this be one I would go back to a lot? No, not really. I think like the first episode and the third episode are like the big cool payoff episodes. The second one's like a nice little. It's still kind of a filler, but it's still like a nice little. Like you could have put 2 and 3 together, or 1 through 3 together. What the same episode? This thing is its own thing. We'll see after that. But
I'll definitely,
because we don't have a lot more episodes left.
Yeah.
I'll definitely come back to it because I want to replay that fight sequence, which ends with Baby Yoda just sipping his bone broth.
Oh, yeah, it's already a meme. Yeah,
I love it.
Meme like mom and dad fighting together. Me who just wants my.
That's right.
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of with you, Mike. I don't know that I'll revisit it except for the meme-worthy moments. But again, who knows? This might be sort of an inconspicuous little puzzle piece in the grander narrative that is going to warrant a rewatch at some point. But I am, as much as it sounds like I'm kind of down in this episode, I just wasn't like fist pumping when the credits rolled at the end. I was still pleasantly, I was pleased. Not as pleased as when I went to Hallmark over the weekend to get my annual Christmas ornament, and I got a Boba Fett head. I haven't opened it yet, but it says phrases from the movie, and considering Boba Fett only has like 3 lines in the entire trilogy, I'm assuming one of is going to be "What if he doesn't survive?" Here's to hoping.
You haven't tried it yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's been one of those busy kind of long weekends. But I think it would have been cooler if it had been a Jango Fett head, because it would have been more thematically appropriate. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aquaman's dad.
No. Oh, that's right. Aquaman's dad and Boba's dead dad. Do you think? Here's something I've always wondered. When Mace Windu decapitated Jango Fett, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched the prequel trilogy, is the reason his head didn't fall out because the lightsaber cauterized the wound?
Could be, and maybe that helmet was a tight fit and it just kept on rolling.
Or they needed a PG rating.
True.
I just think in the R-rated alternate cut, there's the scene where little Boba picks up his dad's helmet.
They did have that. Yeah. Oh, you mean the head just falls out?
Yeah.
That's like a Ryan Johnson joke right there. That they put it. Damn it! Did it again.
Heads
I don't know if we established this already, but have either of you guys have you familiarized yourself with the Clone Wars or the other animated series Rebels?
I haven't watched.
No.
I just
Okay.
the desire.
I only watched the first iteration of the Clone Wars,
Oh, the
15 years ago, or
Yeah.
whatever it was, yeah.
Gendy. Yeah. Well, they are. There are definitely some callbacks in this episode to some of those series, so it's interesting.
All right.
Yeah. But,
cool. Well, we're going to close this episode out without any callbacks. I don't know how to end these shows. Anyway, except to say I should do something that I keep neglecting to do, which is to invite the people who are listening or watching, both of them, to like, subscribe, and continue to follow us on Mondays with the new episodes of What If He Doesn't Survive, our Mandalorian Disney Plus episode recap show. So yes, thank you again, gentlemen, for participating. David, you're with Keeping It Real, and Mike, you are with You'll Probably Agree, aka YPA Reviews. So I keep forgetting to plug my fabulous guests here. So thank you, guys.
Plug.
Yeah, but guys, also remember everyone to comment and give us your thoughts on the videos. Okay, remember to smash that subscribe button.
Matt, you're a regular
Sanctuary
YouTube professional. Yeah, nice. All right, guys. Well,
you're an influencer.
Come on,
I think we're all
guys.
under the influence.
What are the top 10 things you love about the Mandalorian?
You're an under the influencer.
Yes, that's This is not coffee. Anyway, all right. Thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Adios.